Okay, the discussion today is confirmation of cooperation and representation. Now, what is it? Why do we use it for? What happens if we don't? And is it a very important paper? It has to be with the leases or only for the condo or only for the freehold? Should we have it all the time? Because these are all the questions. Because the other day someone asked me, what happens if you are leasing your place? Do we still need this? So let me go changing it. Okay. And you have the identical copies. So I'm going to go. All these square boxes, they mean something. And we cannot have too many check marks if we don't know why we are checking them. So we want to make sure that when we are on the buyer side, we do the correct check marks, and we want to make sure when we are representing both parties, we do the correction. And when we are on the listing part, when the offer comes in, we check that everything is proper. So we'll go. Any questions, please? You can stop me and we go over. I want to make sure everybody understands. Let me get a bigger copy for myself. First of all, can anyone tell me what's the benefit of this form? Why are we using it?
This is how you got your commission.
That's it. So you don't have this, you may not have money, because this is, it says confirmation of cooperation and representation. So we are using it to make sure who we are representing, how we are representing, and how we're going to get paid. The first page is usually explains with the initials and with the check marks who we are representing in this transaction. Are we representing only the buyer, both parties, under what conditions? And then the second page gives us the information, who's paying us and how much. So very simple. That's right there. Okay. And you can make notes on your handout. So first of all, we need the buyer's name, full name. 2 names on the contract, 2 names over here. Every contract must have this. Doesn't matter it's commercial, residential, condominium, rental, or whatever. So we must have one of these attached to everything. If you're typing your own offer on web forms, make sure there is one available. If Brenda or any other person in your office typing the offer, make sure that there is one attached to it. I mean, the girls usually on the weekends, they are not agents, they are not, they are part-timers. So sometimes they don't know exactly what paperwork do you need. Brenda in this office, very qualified person, years and years she's been working, so she never give you an offer without this or without other necessary papers. But other girls at night, weekends, I mean, they are young girls, so they don't know exactly what real estate means. They just work. So you have to tell them what you need. And this is one of the most important paper you can have attached to your offer. Okay? I had a copy. There you go. Buyer's name. Whatever you have on the contract, you must have the identical name of this. Seller's name, good morning. Seller's name, whatever you have on the offer, agreement of purchase and sale, you should have identical name on this. If anything changes, this has to change, but when you are making an amendment, it automatically changes everything. So you don't have to go paper by paper changing the stuff. So, no problem. And the transaction, the property known as. So every address is different. So you're going to have one for each address. You cannot have one and then use it for the rest of the time that you're typing offers. So for every time, you need a brand new one because the brokerage changes. If you are typing your offer today with Checkmarks, tomorrow it could be Realty Page or Online. So you have to have a brand new one every time. So Checkmarks, listing brokerage. We usually have A checked if we are dealing with a brokerage outside of our brokerage. Let's say we are working for a buyer and then the listing company is Remax. So what we are doing there is the listing brokerage represents the interest of the seller in this transaction. It is further understood and agreed that. So what we are saying is this: the listing is somebody else's, it's not ours. That's what we are checking, that portion, okay? And then we are also following up. There are two sections there. That means if the property is on MLS or exclusive listing with any other brokerage other than Realty Page or Community Realty, that could be Realty Page Signature, it could be another Realty Page somewhere else, but other than Realty Page, your Community Realty, there are 1 and 2. Number 1 says the listing brokerage is not representing or providing customer service to the buyer. If the buyer is working with a cooperating brokerage, Section 3 must be completed by the cooperating brokerage. So, in other words, when you're typing your offer and the listing is somebody else's, you're going to check mark the number number 1A, and then there is 1 and 2. Number 1 says that the listing broker is not providing no services to your buyer. So you are with your buyer. So that has to be blank, okay? That has to be unchecked. And then second one says the listing brokerage is providing customer service to the buyer. So if you are working with the buyer at the same time, but you were the listing agent, then you are also checking that part, saying that you're providing customer service to your buyer, okay? So that's one. Now, the first one is the listing brokerage is not representing or providing customer service to the buyer. If the buyer is working with a cooperating brokerage, Section 3 is to be completed by cooperating brokerage. So that's us. We are the cooperating brokerage. Okay? Yeah.
One more time. So if we work with a buyer, we should check mark on A and then 1.
Yes. Okay.
And if the listing is other broker.
Exactly. When you see a listing on MLS, obviously the listing broker is not providing services to your buyer. You have the buyer on your side. So you have to check 1, A, and then 1. Okay? And then the second one, if you are providing customer service to your buyer, then you can check number 1, or sorry, number 2, A, number 2, because you're providing customer service to your buyer. Okay? Is it clear? The listing brokerage is providing customer service to the buyer.
Here it says the listing brokerage is providing customer service to the buyer.
Right. So the listing brokerage, who's the listing brokerage? Let's say, no, I'm just talking about if you were the listing brokerage, then we will be providing customer service to our buyer, checking number 1A, 2. Okay? Now I will go over, don't worry, I'm going to go a few times over so it's going to be more clear.
Is Connect part of this now, or?
No, Connect is a totally, as long as it's not your Community Realty, Connect is a separate entity.
So it's not multiple?
No. Unless it's we have another company now, Vivian has 6 more offices. Maybe some of you don't aware of it. It's a Realty Page Connect. Even though the brokerage, like Michelle is going to be the, like part owner or all owner, I don't know the details of it. The name is important, not who owns it, okay? So if the name of the company was Realty Page or Community Realty, then it's part. But since it's another name, it's not included with Realty Page or Community. Like you will treat it like any other brokerage, okay? Because unless they have an understanding between Rigo, it's all clear that it could be the same, then it's a different server. So far, I haven't heard anything. All right. Now, what does multiple representation mean? What does B mean? Who can tell me what is multiple representation?
Buyer and seller from
The same company, not the same person, but the company, right? It could be Aurora, it could be downtown office, right? Okay. So when is not a multiple representation, you are representing both parties. Do we have to check that all the time? When you are representing 2 parties, buyer and seller, is it always a multiple representation? It is. Okay. Let's discuss that. She said it is. You're saying no.
Only if they are clients, not customers.
Yeah, number 1B.
Yeah.
Number 1B,
But
it
what
says
is your question?
multiple representation. What does that mean?
Same company.
Same company
Yeah.
or same person?
Right,
Okay, you have a listing, you're selling it.
right.
You have a listing, he is selling it. You have a listing, downtown office is selling, it's multiple. But when does not become a multiple? She said, any, pardon?
What is a client? I
Client.
mean, it's not a client.
Okay, how does it become not client? What has to happen there?
Customer.
Customer.
Third
Okay,
customer.
so when we have a listing, MLS or exclusive, doesn't matter, okay? You are representing somebody. When you have a listing, who we are representing? When you have a seller. So the only party you're representing is the seller.
Okay.
Now, when we have a buyer agency, either ourselves or the company, that is a multiple representation. I have a listing, he has a buyer with a buyer agency. It's a multiple representation. I have a listing, downtown office has a buyer with a buyer agency. It's a multiple representation. The only time it's not a multiple representation, if I have a listing, he has a customer service, then it's not a multiple.
Without buyer representation.
No, because it's not a service that we are providing to the buyer as a client, okay? So it's not, even though the same company is servicing two people, okay, buyer and seller, is not a multiple representation. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay? Or let me change it around. Now we have a buyer agency. I have a listing, but it's not on MLS or exclusive. It's a seller agreement to pay commission. Can it be multiple representation?
Yes.
No. Seller is a customer. The buyer is with him. I have a seller. He says, Gregory, I heard that you have a listing. I don't have a listing. I have a seller who's interested. He says, bring me a customer, bring me a client. I give you commission. But he signed seller commission agreement, not a listing. The only time you have a multiple representation where you have listing and BRA, buyer representation, both sides. If one side is a listing, the other side is a customer, it's not a multiple. If one side is a BRA and the seller is not a listed person, it's not a representation. It's a customer service to the seller, client service to the buyer. Clear?
So,
Yes,
What do you
any
mean?
question, go ahead.
yeah, what do you mean the property is not on MLS?
The property is not on MLS or is not listed exclusively. It's a
Okay.
customer service we are providing to the seller. It was a private site. I go there.
Okay.
I say, my name is Gregory. I'm at Realty Page. I think we can sell your property. Can you give us a listing or whatever? He said, I'm not listing with anybody. I'm selling privately, but if you have anybody, bring him. If they like the property, then we'll negotiate. But we are not giving no exclusive, no MLS listing. There are some sellers like that. But he has somebody with a buyer agency agreement. Then in order to protect me, I go and tell him that at this time he has seller customer service that you will pay me 4% because he's going to bring a customer, a client. Once he signs that, then we are representing. But representation is not a multiple representation. His is a client, mine is a customer. So it's not exactly the opposite of you have a listing on MLS, he has a customer service with a buyer. It's opposite.
Just to talk a little more about that, because that actually happened to me a few days ago.
Okay.
I have someone, they told me bring a developer. It's a good opportunity, so I have to find a developer. But what do I sign the seller up as, exclusive and customer?
No, it's either or. You cannot have both.
Okay.
See, in a case like that, when there is a big development property or opportunity, I wouldn't go customer, I would go exclusive listing.
Just exclusive.
Exclusive listing, then you're representing that person as a client, and it's a safer way to deal with it. Customer service, either with the buyer or seller, it's only for that person. There is no exclusivity to the company or to you. You have to understand that. If I have a BRA with him, he is working with me until that BRA expires. He cannot go and buy it from anybody else. He can, but I can go after him and demand my commission. Holdover, or within the expiry, I can go and I sue him or I sue the other broker if he knew and he signed them up. So I get 2.5% regardless. If he signs with me a customer service, it's only for that property that I'm showing. Next day, he can go and sign another customer service with another brokerage. As long as he doesn't buy that property, he can go and sign by agency with another brokerage. I have no claim. So it's the same with the seller. You go and get a customer service with the seller. Next day, somebody goes there, private, says, sir, I have somebody in the car, can I show it? Oh yeah, come on in. So another agent or private can go in there and sell the property. You cannot demand no commission because you had a customer service. You did show it, your buyer didn't buy it, that's finished. Even there is expiry date, it's finished because your customer did not put in your offer. Now, if you have an exclusive listing, for the duration of that exclusive listing and holdover clause, depending, we will talk about that, then it's your client. Nobody can sell that property but you, all right?
The developer, should I get them to sign?
Well, those people are not very easy to put on the
Yeah,
paper, but good luck.
Yeah.
You can, there are some that they sign,
Okay.
but if the seller is willing to, cooperate with you, I think the exclusive listing would be perfect. Then the developer at this is loose, but you have one side tied up.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Number 2, down the line, property sold by buyer brokerage, property not listed. That's the heading. Okay? So we are selling a property by buyer brokerage. We are the buyer brokerage, but property is not listed. So there are 2 sections there. What are we working for? Number 1, it says the brokerage does not represent the buyer and the property is not listed with any brokerage. The brokerage will be paid as follows. Either number 1 or 2 by the seller in accordance with the seller customer service. Okay. If you have a customer service with the seller, you're checking that and then you're getting paid whatever is in there. Okay. Because the property is not listed. So it's a customer service you're providing to the seller or by the buyer directly. Years ago, you were not allowed to get paid by the buyer. This is years and years and years ago. Okay, some of you were not even born. So you were not allowed. You would only get paid by the seller because seller was your principal. Now the court allow that you get paid by the buyer. I will elaborate on everything more. It becomes a little bit confusing in the first time, but you will understand everything. Now, is it a very good idea to work with the buyer to get paid, or it's a better idea to work with the seller to get paid? Seller is always best, unless you have no choice. Buyers, first of all, especially now, they have to qualify for mortgage. The mortgage laws are tougher than ever. Buyers shall have extra money to pay your commission after having a 15, 20, or 25%, hopefully 25% down payment ready. And the plus on closing day, if they are buying a $800,000, $900,000 home, 20% of that is $160,000, $200,000. Then plus they have to have another $40,000 to pay you. That's not going to happen very easy unless they have a 40,000 in somewhere else. They said this is for reality when I buy a house. Nobody is going to have that. Plus then transfer taxes, plus appraisal, plus lawyer. If the property is south of steals to then transfer taxes, it's a killer. Okay, and rates are going up. So that's not a very good idea to work with the buyer unless are we okay?
Yeah, I lost my keys.
You lost your keys?
Yeah, everything's on there.
Unless there are no other choices, okay? The seller says, I don't care how you are getting paid, I don't care who's paying you, I want $800,000 and you work on your own. Now, that's not gonna be very easy deal, but if you have no choice, you're either gonna let it go or take your chances. On closing day, if the buyer doesn't have any money to pay you, I pay you later. The deal has to close. Lawyers cannot stop the sale. okay? The mortgage is already registering, so good luck to you. So you get paid somehow, maybe 5 years from now, 2 years from now, you have to go to court, whatever the case is. But it's not a very good idea to depend on the buyer's commission. That's my personal opinion. So the best thing is to make sure that we have a customer service with the seller, and there is some kind of a remuneration written there, 2.5%, 2%, 5%, whatever the case is. Don't bother the buyer. And then the good part about it, the deposit that you get from the buyer, that goes to the seller on closing, it will not go anymore because that's part of the commission. But the other way, when you're holding the deposit, it does not say that you can get paid from that deposit, the payment. The offer doesn't say it, okay? So we have to be very careful with that. It doesn't happen very often, but it's in here, so we have to make sure. So let's read it again. Number 2, property sold by buyer brokerage. We are selling this property, but this property is not listed, all right? So we have 2 choices. The brokerage does not represent the buyer, and the property is not listed with any real estate brokerage. The brokerage will be paid, now if you are not representing the buyer, will be paid by the seller in accordance with the seller customer service. So we are not, the property is not listed and we are not representing the buyer. So obviously the buyer is a customer, the seller is a customer, we are not representing none of them, it's a customer, but we will get paid with the check mark we put on the number, the first one, we will get paid by the seller, all right? Or it says the brokerage does represent, instead of does not, does represent, right? Am I right?
Right.
Yeah, does represent the buyer. So that means we must have a buyer agency agreement with the buyer, okay? But we are not representing the seller. We only have a customer service with the seller, but we represent the buyer. That is safer now. In case the seller doesn't pay us or they go bankrupt, now we have a buyer agency, we can go after the buyer, okay? The 2.5% becomes a big present for us over there. When you have a customer service, there is no such thing, okay? You cannot go after the buyer, give me money. When you have a BRA, you can go after the buyer to demand your commission legally, all right? So it says the brokerage does represent the buyer and the property is not listed, okay? And the brokerage will be paid by the seller in accordance with the seller. That's the best part. Or directly by the buyer, which is not very recommended case. I would not recommend that you should work with the buyer to get paid unless the buyer has cash in his hand or 3/4 of the property that he is buying. He has the value of the money ready. He is buying $800,000 home. He has $600,000 that you know he will be given. That he needs only $200,000 mortgage. Then you say, according to our agreement here, you are paying also royalty page, okay? So keep up $50,000 on the side beside your down payment, beside your land transfer tax, so to pay royalty page. There are cases like that, very seldom. Not everybody has $600,000-700,000 and buys the $800,000 home. Usually when you have $600,000-700,000, you go to $1.5 million to $2 million home. But I'm just giving you an example. If that's the case, yes, you are safe to get paid by the buyer. %90 of the time, this form is used. Either we are representing the buyer and the listing is Remax's. Then we go to the second page. Now we are the cooperating broker. I will elaborate a little bit more on the first page again. Let's go over. Okay, second page. Now we check the first page on listing brokerage's part. A, the listing brokerage represents the interest of the seller. We check that. And the listing brokerage is not representing and providing services. We check that, number 1. Okay. Now we are representing the buyer. So we are going on the second page. Yes. Additional comment, I'm going to come to that. There is a few things that I have to talk about. Second page, number 3. It says cooperating brokerage completes section 3, and listing brokerage completes section 1. Okay, so section 1 is done by the listing brokerage, but since we are typing the offer, we do it because we don't leave it blank and then send the offer for the listing. We do it. We know that listing brokerage has a listing and he is representing the seller, so we check mark. We know that listing brokerage is not representing our buyer. We check A, am I right? Okay, number 1 A or A number 1. And then we go to section 3. Cooperating brokerage representation. A, B, C. The cooperating brokerage represents the interest of the buyer in this transaction. What does that mean? 90% of the time, this is the one we are checking. That means you have a buyer agency. Your cooperating brokerage is us. Listing brokerage is another party. We check page 1, section 1, A, and A and 1. And then we go to the third page. We check A. The cooperating brokerage is us representing the interest of the buyer. Okay, A. So we must have, when we are doing this, we must have buyer agency agreement. We don't have buyer agency agreement, then you cannot really check 1. You cannot say, eventually I'm going to get a buyer agency agreement. That doesn't work. That is too late. It's like you're buying something from Walmart and you're coming to the cashier. Oh, you're saying, oh my God, I don't think I have my wallet or Visa. I'll come back tomorrow and I pay you. Then I'm going to let you out. That's too late. You have to leave the merchandise, go to your car or go home and then come. Nobody going to tell you, okay, come back tomorrow and pay what you're buying today. No, that's too late. When you're typing an offer, you have to have that relationship with your buyer or seller in this case, but mostly buyer, that you establish your relationship with the buyer before you type the offer. It says in my course, buyer agency, that you've been here, at least prior typing an offer. Okay, the presentation has to be established. When you present the offer, either accepted, rejected, signed back, that's too late. Your presentation already been discussed and has to be approved already by both parties, okay? If the buyer says, oh, I'm gonna do it at the end, don't worry, that's not a presentation. Then you shouldn't check that mark. What is the second choice? It says the cooperating broker is providing customer service in this transaction. So you either have A or B. If you don't have one of those, you are not doing your job properly. Number 1, first of all, you are working against RICO rules and regulations. I am not there. I shouldn't say I don't care, but I'm not there to tell you that this is wrong. You have to know. That's the reason we do these classes, okay? You are not doing your job properly, and you are providing extra service to that person that does not deserve, okay? Why would I give a champagne to somebody if they only deserve a glass of water, okay? That person or people do not deserve a client service, yet you're providing client service without any paperwork, without any understanding between the two parties. So that's not the case. You should. You're either going to have a buyer agency or you're going to have a customer service. Now, does it really matter which one? Does it really matter which one? It does. I prefer to work as a client with someone rather than customer, right? But that doesn't mean if this person is not willing to sign with me buyer agency, I should let him go. I can work with him as a customer, but my responsibilities are limited, less, and then once I finish this work, he may end up with somebody else next round. That's all. But I don't have to provide him the full service of client. There is a lot more. You're giving him advice, you're leaving your dinner on Sunday afternoon and going showing properties. Customer, you don't have to do all that. All right? So you have limited service obligation to the customer, but you have a lot more to the client. And yet, most of us, I won't say all of us, most of us, we do all this work with no paper in our hand, and then a month after they end up buying from another person, a month after they go and buy in an open house because the listing agent said, oh, if you buy with me, you're going to save $10,000. A month after they go and buy a private, then you start feeling upset. I have people coming and crying in my office that I worked 3 months with this person. I showed them everything. At the end, they bought from somebody else. Well, did you have VRA? No. Well, there you go.
Can I ask a quick
Yeah.
question in regards to the DRA? You know, at the bottom, it says schedules, and then there's a blank space.
Mhm.
But if we don't know how many schedules are going to be attached to the agreement, can we leave it blank and then,
On the VRA?
yeah,
Yeah, what is the schedule for? I tell you. Usually, you don't need anything.
okay.
You don't need, because if you have a very basic VRA, let's say you sign a VRA with no attachments or anything, so you don't
We
need
just
nothing.
leave it blank.
But there are times you want to keep a log. You want to know what you're showing when you're showing beside your MLS picture. Some people are picky people, okay? I am one of them. I like to have everything in writing and filed, and 10 years from now you ask me, who was your client? I believe it or not, 44 years ago, who was my first client? I still have the file. Maybe not in detail, but I keep it. It's a souvenir to me, all right? So if I want to check what I showed, when I showed the date and everything, besides the MLS, I can put in a schedule A. And there are times if I don't trust the buyer, even though I have a VRA, if I don't trust the buyer, I get it initially. That today, March 21st, Gregory of Realty showed following properties. At the bottom, I get an initial. So the buyer, right? So a lot of times when there is an issue, when you have this paper trail, my God, you have a winner. There is no, first of all, the tribunal looks at it, RICO or Toronto Real Estate for Arbitration Committee. I've been there many times bringing people and protecting them. So they look at it, oh my God, she or he is 100%, like there is nothing missing. All the paperwork is in order, the names and addresses and phone numbers. If you're missing information and nothing, you could be 100% right, but how are you going to prove it? That's the issue, okay? So keeping a record is always advice, preferable, okay?
So that doesn't refer to the A and B schedule or whatever it may be
No,
on.
nothing like that, no. Unless there is something else you want to create. Usually it's the schedule, if there is any additional information, okay? Yeah. So, number 3, C, we are on the second page, C. The cooperating brokerage is not representing the buyer and has not entered into an agreement providing the customer service to the buyer. What is this mean? Can anybody tell me? Say everybody is doing that. But when do we use this? Have anybody used this so far?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Can you tell me why is it there? What does that mean? Why would you work with somebody that you're not providing customer service, you're not providing client service? Why would you need somebody, and how would you work with this
What's
person?
the point?
That's the point, right? What's the point? Any ideas?
Family member?
Let's say family member, you still need a paperwork.
And
You're
you
selling
you
your
still
system.
need a commission.
You still need commission. Or let's say it's your sister or your brother. Why would you check that one?
Is this
There are-
just if they don't want to sign anything and you still want commission?
I never seen anybody yes, that's one reason. I mean, you totally depend on their honesty. You totally depend on their word. Then they say that we are not going to go back behind you and then go that buy property private. Let's say there is a listing, it's expiring tomorrow, you're showing it today. These are smart cookies, right? They don't want to sign no customer service, nothing, because there is no holdover clause. They know, or they talk to the people in their language. I understand 3-4 languages, that's it. But there are so many other ones that they can speak to each other. And then the seller say, tomorrow or next day, my listing is expiring. If you didn't sign anything, come back, we do it together. Why you have to pay money, or why do I have to pay money? You say 20,000, I said 20,000, that's $40,000 savings. So that's the time they can force you to say, I don't want to sign anything, but I want to be that. If you're willing to work with them, fine. If you don't, you don't. But there is one instance that besides that, lawyers are allowed to buy and to sell real estate, even though they are not licensed, but they are, because they are lawyers, they fall in the category of being an agent, okay? I had a lawyer I used for him. He said, I don't want to be represented. I'm not signing anything. I do my offer. I do everything. You just present. You just present the seller. That's years ago. Maybe 16, 17 years ago.
Not even customer service?
Not even customer service. I said, he is asking me. He is doing his own offer. You know, he is doing his clauses, everything. I'm just going to present to the other party because he didn't want to get involved with that third party, which is another brokerage, right? He says, Gregory, and this lawyer is still where he is. I mean, 16 years ago. And by the way, this wasn't a residential. This was a commercial. These are allowed by the lawyer. If you find one that he thinks like that he shouldn't sign no buyer agency, no customer service, and he is allowed to represent himself, he can represent himself under the RICO rules and regulations. RICO recognizes lawyer. They can make appointment. They can go to see a property. They can say, I am a lawyer. I'm not belonging to any association. No royalty pays, no remarks, but I am a lawyer. I have the power to present you this offer by law. Okay? So once he is allowed, that is the section that you can work. All right? And then the other section, of course, the buyer is saying, I don't want to sign anything. You want to work with me? This is the way I am. You don't want to work with me? Bye-bye. Now you're going to say, if he goes, he's gone. Let me work. I showed him a couple houses, what happens? So that's the only time. Okay? It's not very safe, but that's the only time. Anyway, let's leave that part out. We don't want to have that. We want to have A, the worst scenario, B. Yes.
So if you're working with a relative, you're not asking for the commission, that would be the part.
No, nothing to do with that. Because that part, if the property is on MLS and you have a representation with your relative, you need this part, you need that part, you need number 3. All right? Now, let's go further down. Cooperating broker commission. Now, that's the most important part. Let's talk about this. It says A and B. The listing brokerage will pay the cooperating brokerage the commission as included in the MLS information for the property. Let's say 2.5% plus HSD, usually plus HSD anyway, to be paid from the amount paid by the seller to the listing broker. So from the seller amount, you will get paid 2.5%. All right? Or B, the cooperating brokerage will be paid as follows. So again, 90% of the time we are using A because there is a commission given on MLS section, 2.5%. So you put that as per MLS and you send your offer. So 90% of the time we are using that. There are times it's as follows. As follows means you're changing something and it has to be initial. If you're working on a different commission split, you have an agreement with the other brokerage that it should not be 2.5, but it should be 2 3/4, 3 or 2 1/4. You should get it initial. If it's not initial, it's not worth anything. Okay. Now we have cases right now as we speak with MLS department, and there are 2 different issues in this office. One of them, the commission was offered at 2.5% on MLS. The agent that was representing the buyer, somehow he copied most information from another deal and he put 3. Okay, but the commission was offered by MLS 2.5, not 3, not less, not more. But they put 3%. And the listing broker, somehow they never noticed it and they accepted it. The offer got accepted, the conditions are removed. Then the listing broker noticed that it's a 3%. And they send us a letter saying to our agent that there is a mistake, let's correct it. The agent says, no, you should have corrected then. Why should I? You promised on your paperwork, you're going to give me 3%, I want 3%. Now, who has a case? Us claiming 3% or them, they were offered 2.5%.
They accept it, they have to honor it.
They who? The other
other
party
is-
has
the
to
other
honor it,
has
that's
to
one
honor it.
answer. Who has a case? They have to honor it. Who has a
But
case?
how was it?
The 3%, so we get 3%.
So, Gregory, how
Yeah.
did that 3% end up being 3% there if they didn't put it there?
No, we put it there. We put it there, and the listing broker never noticed it. So they
Oh,
accepted
they
3%. Yeah,
just-
it was 2.5 advertised, and it's running in this office, and it's going on right now, okay? So anybody else commenting? Does it have to be 3? Are we gonna win the case or lose the case?
When-
We're gonna win.
Everybody says win the case.
Yeah.
No, we are
I
not.
think it depends on the
It's because it was not initial, you see? It says as per MLS. MLS is 2.5. You can put that 10%. If somebody is blind there and he doesn't see it, it has to be initial. Anything other than MLS, it has to be initial. By the listing broker,
listing.
by the owner, by the,
Where to be initial?
right there, right there, right there.
Mhm.
Because you're saying as per MLS, 2.5%. MLS is
If you don't
2.5.
say after MLS,
Pardon?
if you don't say that,
No.
if you say just 3%, it's.
One moment, that's a good question. Then it has to be here as follows. If that MLS, instead of MLS, it was on the second line B, then we had a case. Initials are must, because you see, MLS shows 2.5%. You're putting by mistake 2%.
Yeah.
You think they were gonna win the case? No, you can go after that 0.5% and you get it. The board is saying, this is the board, not me. Okay, the board is saying, the rule says, as per MLS, if the MLS listing is showing 5% and you put 3, you get 5. Unless you put 3 and everybody initial. There are reasons. Why would you put 3? Let's say the house price is 1.2 million and you want to reduce your commission to 3% from 5 to get the deal. There are times we work with our commission to make everybody happy. That's the time you change it to a lower portion. Everybody initials it. If there is no initial, it's a human error. The board is not recognizing that as a winner error. Okay? It's not us. So we have another case now. We are on the listing part. And this time the mistake is for the benefit of us. They put less 0.25%. Because people copy, they copy and paste. They save one on the web form. When they go to type an offer, they take the information, even the name sometimes is wrong because they copy different addresses. They forget that it's another property. There is offering, we are offering 2.5. They came up with 2.25. And now they realize they want, and the agent is saying, I'm not paying you 2.5. It's right there again in this office. I'm not paying you 2.5. You wanted 2.25. My client was going to ask more money. I told him that it's 2.25. That's why he settled for this price. But why didn't you get your client to initial it? There is no initial. If there was one initial there, in order to be a valid contract, the other party had to initial, then it would have resolved the problem. You see, there are initials missing.
In that case, does the listing agent has to initial it as well?
Yeah.
Or just
Oh, yeah.
the-
No.
Okay.
Because at the bottom, on the first page, and everybody here signing it.
Right.
Cooperating broker, listing broker, look at it. Here, 4 people initialing it, so we need everybody's initial. But when you are working for your benefit from the listing agent, you don't care whether seller or buyer initial. As long as listing agent initial,
Right.
they are accepting to pay you 3%, they get less money. It's their stability not to get the seller to accept it. If they don't get the seller to initial it, Remax, Home Life, Century 21, you're lucky if they initial it, you can take them to the arbitration, then you win the case because they initial to pay you 3% or 2.75.
A question for you. Sometimes there are some properties, not in GTA, but other GTAs, coming here too, that they offer only 1 point.
I am coming to
or
that. I will come to that.
Okay.
That's part of the program today. Okay. So that's the second part. Okay, that's the second page. Now we are signing, we are initialing most of this paper. Again, there are so many mistakes I see, other managers see that we have to correct. If we are working for one party and then the listing is another party, everybody signs initials as, let me go back. So the buyer is ours, the seller is somebody else. We check here, we check there that the listing broker is not representing our buyer. And then there is nothing else here. Buyer initials right here. Cooperating broker is us, we initial right here. And then the seller, when they receive it, they initial here, and the listing broker initial that. That's the first part, okay? And then we go to the second page. There is nothing to be there unless we are changing commission. Then here we have cooperating broker. We are cooperating broker. There is a name and our title, whether we are broker or salesperson, and the company name. We sign and date it. And then the other party signs and dates it. And then down here, there is the buyer, there is the seller. This has to be completed exactly how it is in order to be a contract. Anything that is not done properly is not 100% completed. There is always a problem in the courts. If something comes up saying that how come there is no signature, how come there is no initial, there is always a problem. Okay, so that's the one scenario. You are on the buyer side and then the other. Now we are the listing side. Okay, I will give you 3 scenarios. We are the listing side. We have the seller. The offer is coming to us. It's checkmarked here and checkmarked there. So we are presenting the seller, and we have nothing to do with their buyer. Okay, how they deal with their buyer, we don't care. We are on the listing side. So this time they initialed here. Okay, they initialed here. Sorry, and then they are sending us this paper. Okay, and then we work with the offer, whether we are sending it back or accepting it. Then what we do, this is signed by them, the brokerage. We sign here as our agency, and then this is signed by the buyer. Then we sign here and send it back or accept it. Very simple. Now the scenario with multiple representation, it changes completely. And we all have agreed. If he is the listing agent, I am the selling part. I want to make sure that my money is safe. That's the problem. Okay, I want to make sure I'm going to get 2.5% from you. All right, but with multiple representation, it doesn't work like that. Let's work on multiple representation. Buyer and seller is royally paid. It doesn't matter me, him, or someone else. If it's me, only me, then it will be no issues because I'm representing him. I have no problem with any issues. Okay, but I still want to do the proper paperwork. Seller, buyer is ours. We have to check right here. Now I'm going to ask, where else do we have to check? We check there. Anywhere else on the first page, do we need any check mark? I'm going to change it. Anywhere else on the first page, we need to do any check mark? No. Let's go to the second page. Where do we check mark over here? Where do we check over here?
Consent.
Pardon?
Consent.
Consent, yes. That's initial. I'm talking about check mark. Second page, any check marks for a multiple representation?
Yeah, the box and the buyer, yeah.
That's initial. I'm talking about check mark, like up there anywhere. Check mark. You have to say, even if it's wrong, let's correct it.
No?
You say no. Anybody says yes, and where? Check marks? No? No.
B, A, B.
Where?
A and B
A.
together?
A and B together?
No.
You said B?
A and B together.
No.
A.
A. Do we have to check mark A? We are learning. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so.
you say, okay. All right, she said check mark A because we did representation at the first page. We put a check mark right here, B. Okay, that's a must.
Right.
And then some of you think A and B on the second page.
No.
Some of you think only A.
Right.
I say no. No. Because why I'm saying no? Look at the title. Look at the heading there. Cooperating brokerage. We are not cooperating brokerage. We are a listing brokerage, and when we are representing both parties, we will remain listing brokerage. Cooperating brokerage means other than the listing brokerage, someone outsider, not Realty Page, your community, but anybody else. So there will not be any check mark there. That's a mistake. Now, if Mo was the listing agent and I am the buyer agent, where would I write my commission? He is offering either exclusive or MLS, 2.5%. How would I secure my commission? Where would I put my commission? Since, sorry?
As follows.
As follows? Okay, B. Okay, she says B. Who else? Any other ideas? I want my commission, right? Where am I going to put my commission in this case?
In second one, B.
B.
Mhm.
Okay. Anybody else comment?
Here it says again, cooperating brokerage, so we are
I
not
cannot put any commission anywhere.
anywhere. Yeah.
Nowhere, no commission.
Nowhere.
Let me tell you how you're gonna work that, okay? Because this section is only for the cooperating
Corporate.
broker, using that section for anything in the court, law of court, it's invalid. And you can actually get penalized. You can actually get penalized. We had a case years ago, because it was not, this form was not filled properly, done properly, we lost the court case. Okay, so you cannot fill anything in there. How are you going to protect our commission? I tell you that. So let's go to the first page. This is, we are working on multiple representation. Check mark here. Okay, now there are initial. Where do I initial? Where do everybody initial? Obviously, buyer initials here,
Seller there.
seller initials there. I am the listing, or he is the listing agent here, and I am the cooperating, or what? Where am I going to initial? Right here? No.
you're
No
not
initial.
cooperating.
This is blank.
No.
I am preparing a trap so everybody falls in. Okay, so no initials on this. Okay, when you are on a multiple representation, you are not initialing the cooperating because you are not a cooperating broker. All right? So 3 initials on the first page and 1 check mark on the first page, addresses and the property address.
Here, the listing brokerage has to sign,
Yes.
not the broker, not the agent. Is it
No,
Agent?
brokerage means is
Brokerage
agent
means
or yeah, you're representing the brokerage. Some
because
papers,
when it's like a multiple,
yeah.
you prefer that
The
not-
broker owner, you mean?
Yes.
No, doesn't
No?
matter. Listing broker is allowed. There are certain papers that you as an agent, I as an agent, I am allowed to sign. Some stuff like the mutual releases or cancellations, you can't, either the manager or broker side. But this one is okay. Listing brokerage, when you're representing the company, you are allowed to sign. Okay? So one here, except this, we initial it. We go to the second page. Now, there is a cooperating broker information, listing broker information. Which one's only the listing? This one, no. All right? Nothing in there, blank. All right? Nothing there. Make notes because I see too many multiple representations. And we must have this one. These two is this is for the consent for multiple representation, buyer and seller. They have to initial here. Now, there are new laws coming in effect. Until such time, this is the way it still is working. That's the way it's going to be. In British Columbia, Vancouver, they changed with this multiple representation. They are not under the same rules and regulation anymore. They are actually trying to get rid of the multiple representation, which is multiple representation, like dual agency. Ontario is trying to get rid of it, but especially for big companies like us, how can you do it? You can. You have a listing here. In our office, there is a buyer. How are you going to do? They will put some restriction. They want more transparency. Rico is saying the way it is now, people are not doing exactly what they are supposed to do. They are not following the rules. The buyers or sellers, they need more transparency because he is my friend and she is not. I know him for 20 years. I don't know her. I just met her. How can I be equal value to both of them? It's not very easy, or it's not very easy possible, right? So if I know him or is related to me, and she doesn't, she just comes in the picture a day ago from an open house, you tell me, is it very easy for me to treat them identical? Not very easy. I'm not saying it's not possible. It's not impossible, but not very easy. Okay? Most people take the law in their hand and they treat this one more favor or vice versa. And they say, well, I don't get it. I met her only yesterday. I'm not going to worry about it. This is my best friend. We have gone out together. We have dinner together. I know his family. He knows my family. So I wanted to get the benefit. Most of the time, that's what happens, whether you like it or not. And it's a human nature. We cannot say, oh, no, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't. We wouldn't. Or we don't want to, but somehow it happens. So there is more transparency they want. So what's going to happen is this. Either broker of record is going to assign, it's going to be a special group. I think they are working on that. They will not, they don't want to demolish or take away the multiple representation completely. They want to put a group of people in the brokerage that when there is a multiple representation, one person representing two parties, one of those bodies come in the middle and say, okay, now you sit down in this room, Mr. And then you sit down in the other room, I'm taking over, okay? I'm representing the buyer, your buyer, and I'm representing her seller. So you guys going to be talking to each other, but I will do work. So that's one of the choices. Second choice, there will be special letters signed by both parties saying that they both agree that they are working with one person in this transaction. Not only this, because they are saying we didn't know what the hell is this because it says multiple representation. I have no idea. There will be extensive letters by the companies or by RICO or by TREP. You will sign as a buyer. You will sign as a seller that you are agreeing all the terms and you're trusting your agent and the company in this matter to represent both.
This is in the case that one person is representing
Yes.
both parties.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
But we have all other kind of multiple representation, which is like two different agents working
In the
on
same company,
Yeah.
yeah. That is
So
easier.
in that case,
That is
it's
easier.
not, yeah.
That's easier because he doesn't know your buyer as well as you do, and you don't know his seller, but responsibilities are the same.
Yes.
We all say my buyer, and he says my seller. You say my buyer, he says my seller. He is from this office, let's say you're from Aurora office. You cannot use my buyer, and you cannot use his seller. It's our buyer and our seller because it's the company. The listing is given not to Mohammed. The listing is not, the buyer agency is not given to you. It's given to Realty Page. You're representing your Realty Page. But today, something happened, he lost his license, or you lost your license, or he forgot to pay his dues, okay? That listing will not be canceled. It will be company listing, and she will get it as a representative. Or someone else will get it. Your BRA. The buyer says, I don't want to work with Gregory anymore. I am fed up with him. He promised me so many things, he is a liar. That buyer agency is not canceled, it's the company. So that will be transferred by us, by Vivian, to another qualified person. There are issues like that. They list with him, they list with me. I don't want to give him as an example. He's a very good lister. And so they list with us, and then they come and say, he hasn't done nothing that he promised. I don't want him. I want to cancel my listing. You don't cancel listing unless you guys promise when you're taking this. So what happens? We try to negotiate with the seller. We say, listen, we have 400 other agents in this office. Maybe every office different. So you make a choice. Do you want a female? Do you want a male? Do you want Iranian? Do you want Italian? Do you want Chinese? Anything that you want. If you have a language problem, we supply you one. So we try to, and then him or the person that is losing the listing, we give him 25% referral fee, okay? So the listing and the buyer agency is not personal, it's a company. So you are still representing the same people in the same company. So the transparency has to be there, okay? So that's the, yes.
Perfect. I have, this is coming up today for me. I'm probably closing a lease. The listing agent, she's in the Vaughn Royal LePage, and I'm here. So I know the first page, I would select multiple representation.
Yes.
I wouldn't initial co-op. On the second page, what would I select?
Nothing.
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 I wouldn't sign it.
Nothing, not even here. This there is no nothing. Just this one, your buyer will, your tenant, and then there, and then the bottom has to be acknowledged, okay? There is one thing though I'm going to mention to you before we go to the next section. When you are dealing with commission issues that you think, if the property is on MLS and it's our listing and it shows 2.5, you're guaranteed 2.5 unless otherwise it's changed before your open presentation. Just be careful. We are in the same office. I have the listing, he has the buyer. He tells me, Gregory, I am preparing a offer, okay? And obviously this is coming with the offer. There is nowhere written anything. Until the offer presentation, if it shows 2.5, you cannot change it afterwards. There is a history, there is a time stamp, there is a date stamp. Nobody can trick me because Vivian is holding the trust account, right? It's the Realty Cash trust account. If I say to Vivian as the buyer agent, he was offering 2.5, next day after 12, he changed it to 2.25, you know, it doesn't work. I still get 2.5% because the changes were made after my offer presentation. Is it clear? Now, I still not 100% guaranteed. I'm not sure. I should have done something else. Yes, I could have done something, and I should. When it comes to money, don't trust anybody. $1 or $100,000. Some people cheat their own family. Okay, this is my experience. Now, since you cannot put any commission there, and he is the listing agent, I am the buyer agent. I will go to him very nicely and make a piece of paper. That's all, nothing to do with this. Make a piece of paper separately because I want to make sure that we are all clear and that paper is going to be part of the deal. I would say Mo agrees to pay to Gregory Istanbul on the above mentioned property 2.5% plus HST. Am I good with that? And he will sign it. Would you say no? He is offering 2.5. Why would he say no? I'm not giving him 3%. I'm not cheating. He would sign. And that's approved by everybody. If you have a deal that you think your commission could be in jeopardy with the person that you're dealing, it wouldn't be because it's the same brokerage. But if you think, get it something signed. It's very simple. 2 lines. That's all. Put the property address, put the date, and then say he agrees to pay on the transaction upon closing, successful closing, 2.5% plus HST, like whatever it is here, or as per MLS listing number. It's even better. As per MLS listing number, 2.5%. Would you say no to it? No. Yes.
Sorry, when should this be done?
Before you present your offer.
But it's already, if it's already on the agreement, this
Yes.
is just.
There is nowhere in the agreement. You cannot put commission in here.
Oh, no, I mean on the buyer rep, on the.
Buyer rep, you have a different story, nothing to do with him. You have a 2.5% for your buyer if he's going to solicit around privates or builders or whatever. That's your own, nothing to do. Well, in case you didn't get by him, you will go after the buyer, but why would you? He promised to pay, he has to pay. Okay, his seller promised to pay, they have to pay. So I will make a couple lines as per MLS listing. Yes.
So in the first page, there is one comment section under the multiple representation. I heard that they have to put there the buyer
No.
commission.
No.
Because I did one time, and then because of other agents here, they told me just put it there. The buyer.
It's not recommended by anybody, and I have never seen anywhere written that on a multiple representation commission must be mentioned anywhere, because you're dealing with your own brokerage, okay? And there is nowhere in here it says additional comment and by the listing broker. Okay, it doesn't. The listing broker represents more than one buyer. These are different stuff. It's nothing to do with that. That relates to the representation multiple. If you have more than one buyer in the property, okay, that is a different multiple representation. And then, or if you have a listing and there are 2 buyers of your own company, let's say you have a listing here, he has a buyer and she has a buyer. There's triple multiple. That is that. You get initial by the buyers that they are working with the same brokerage, 2 buyers at the same time. Okay, it does not say anything about or disclosure. If you forget your buying disclosure or selling disclosure, you are related to one other buyer or seller. This is the last chance you have to do it instead of going without it. That's that. And there is also one for the additional for the buyer brokerage. There is 2 sections like that: buyer brokerage and listed brokerage. Okay. So before we change the subject, any question about this is not clear, please? Yes.
Just a quick review regarding to your second scenario.
Yes.
About when we are working on the seller
Is
side.
that the first page?
First page.
Okay,
yes.
we are going to the first page.
Yes. yes.
Yes,
When
he
we
has
are
a question about the scenario. Okay,
Second one, when we are working with the seller.
okay.
So you said that we should check mark on A and 1.
When you are working with a seller,
And then, yes,
so you have a listing,
okay,
you have a listing, right? Okay, so who's the buyer? Another company?
yes,
They will bring you this. You are not checking nothing. They're gonna send you this. If the buyer is coming from Remax,
oh yeah, gotcha.
and then you have the listing, you are not doing anything. This is coming to you from another
Oh, I
brokerage.
gotcha.
You just make sure that the commission part is correct, okay? When you're dealing with your seller under a listing agreement, exclusive or whatsoever, you make sure that the second part, the commission is correct. Or if there is a negotiation on the commission at the table, the seller says, at this price, I won't be able to pay what I promised. And then you relay this message to the buyer agent on the phone or by text message saying, let's say the offer went 2-3 times back and forth, okay? There is a gap, $5,000 that or $10,000 that nobody is willing to give up. Your seller says, I don't care, keep the deal. But after a few times you went back and forth, okay? And then your buyer or the other person, buyer says, I am not buying anymore. Either 5,000 less or 10,000 less, whatever the amount, or give up the deal. Now the solution is this. You're either gonna forget everything, look for another buyer next time, or you're gonna work with the commission. Now, since the listing brokerage is usually on a lower commission, I rather work with the buyer side because I'm giving 2.5. Let's say I decided to take a listing at 4%, okay? Hopefully we don't get below that, but let's say 4. So if everything goes okay, I am making 1.5%, and I am paying to Amir 2.5%. He's from Remax. Don't go to Remax. I'm just joking. Right? So I am paying him 2.5%. Now he is short 5, 7, 8,000, and I am short with the seller. So we're either going to kill the deal or I'm going to call him from out, and I'm going to say, Amir, you want to make this deal? Yeah, I don't want to lose it. I've been working with this guy 3 months and this is it. There is a chance if you reduce your commission by 7 or 10 or 5 or 2, whatever the case is. He said, well, I don't want it, Gregory, and why don't you do it or why don't we do it together? My answer, I am on a lower commission and I'm not lying. I'm on a 1.5%, he is making it. I can't because I'm on a lower commission already. Or let's say I do 1, you do 5. For example, right? He said, okay, I don't want to lose. We want to make sure those changes or conversation is clear and everybody signs it. Okay? He says 0.25% less, then I'm going to change it. It's not per MLS anymore. It's 2.25%.
Where we should write it? In the second
Right there.
second page.
Second page. Right there. As follows. We will erase that because no more. I give you one of those papers there. Here. So we
I have one here.
You do? Okay. So we must change that. Okay? Or else it will create a problem. We owe the person 2.5. We change that. Now, if I am dealing with the seller too in some money payment, that has nothing to do with the buyer agent. I put the buyer agents there. Okay? Mine is not there, you see. There is no listing broker's commission. We are dealing only with the buyer's commission, right? So either the dollar value, if it's a fraction, we don't want to put percentage. If it's a straightforward 0.25%, it was 8,000, now it's 7,000. I put 2.25 if that represents 0.25%. If it's a stupid figure, I have to put 2.1877%. I don't want to do that. I put dollar value. He promised he was going to give up 7,000. Total commission was 20. I say as follows. I take out the MLS section. I put $13,000 plus HSD. I initial it. I make the seller initial it, and I said to him, go initial it now and then send it back. Then it's a valid contract. Okay? You have a question?
So basically, you submitted this sheet each time that you're making an offer.
Every time, whether it's a lease.
So it goes back and forth. Sheet,
yeah.
It goes back and forth.
Let me tell you one thing. Let me tell you one thing. This has to be recorded. Let me tell you one thing. If you don't want to have any problem with any deals, never deal in your life, whether you are a listing portion, site, or the buyer. Never ever This is happening too many times, and I said, I'm not always with you guys. Let's say there is a change on the first page and the second page. The rest of the contract, everything is perfect. You know what they do? They only send the first and second page. The rest of it, they don't. Don't take that. Every time there is a change, the whole package has to come. Every time there is a change, the whole package has to go. Sometimes I see first page and the seventh page. What happens in between? God forbid, one package goes to a lawyer with another information, another package goes to another lawyer with another information. That's a big problem for both of you. You know, I had one actually last weekend. You know, last weekend I was checking somebody's paperwork. I got only two pages. I said, where are the rest? Oh, we don't need the rest. It was the original page, the price page, and it was on the Schedule A second page, not even the first. I said, I'm not going to check nothing until I get the whole package. I can't. It's not a practice. It's not a good practice. You should discipline yourself because the other party should appreciate if you are strict about this. You know, they shouldn't say, what are you? Why am I going to send that? It's an email anyway. It's a DocuSign email. Like you're not doing anything physical. You're not wasting any paper as long as you don't print. And at the end of the day, when everything gets accepted, you have to print the whole package that you know it came from the other party, not 2 pages or 3 pages.
Okay. Sorry, on that note that you were saying, if you want to lower the
Commission.
in order to make the deal go through. What if both parties, listing and buyers, are lowering their commission? Where do they put it?
The buyer portion is written there. It
Yeah.
was 20,000. Now we're giving him 7,000 less, so it's 13,000 plus HST or percentage, 2%, 2.25%. Listing has nothing to do with this. Listing is between you and your seller. Then it's a separate thing. Let's say if you are not reducing any money on your portion, you are not going to worry about it. Okay? You don't have to worry about writing anything because the buyer agent reduced it and that's it, you're done. But if you're going to be reducing, again, your portion, 1,000 or 2,000, then you get a separate paper. You say, I agree to reduce my commission, okay, from 2, whatever.
Oh, you just write it
Yeah,
down.
just write it down, the listing portion of the commission, from 1.5% to 1%, or from 22,000 to 20,000 plus HST, and get the seller sign it, put it in the file. That's it. Very simple. Okay, nothing to do with this. You don't need to let the buyer agent. That's between you and the seller. He agreed 7,000. You agree 1,000 or $0. That's between you and. Okay. Any other question before I go?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just a quick review. There is 3 additional, 2 on first page, 1 on third page. Can you go over these?
Sure. Additional comments, right?
Yeah.
Keep that in mind because I'm going to come to that with the following paperwork. Anything regarding how to fill this? A, B, C, number 1, number 2, number 3. Any confusion, any misunderstanding?
Just a quick question.
Yes.
For multiple reps, I understand it all. It's for a lease. On the tenant's end, I'm representing the tenants. They can sign customer service or buyer rep, anything. It wouldn't be listed in here.
Here?
No. Yeah,
There?
it wouldn't be listed.
Yes, it would be listed there.
It would be.
It first of all, when you are dealing with the other brokerage, you would check mark here, okay?
For multiple reps.
No, multiple rep, you're saying?
Yeah, this is multiple.
Who's the listing agent?
They're
Us?
in bond.
Oh, okay, then you don't need nothing.
Yeah.
You will do right here.
Yeah.
And then you need your own either BRA or with the customer service.
That's
There-
separate.
That's it,
Okay.
yeah, there is nothing else, okay? Yeah, because when you're doing multiple, first of all, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, I apologize. When you're doing a customer service, it's not a multiple. The only time it's multiple when you have buyer representation and a listing in the same company, remember?
Yeah.
So I got carried away. So it's not a multiple. If it's a customer service, then it's not a multiple. You're gonna do here plus a customer service, which is here. Let me show you. It's not multiple representation. There we go. Here. The listing brokerage is providing customer service to the buyer right here. This and that, okay? You're providing customer service to the buyer.
Yeah, if you're the listing agent and you're providing
Yes.
customer service.
It's not a multiple representation. The only time is a multiple representation, MLS listing, exclusive listing, or DRA together at the same time.
And if it's a multiple, just because the listing agent has the property and they're with our brokerage, I have the tenant, would I still get the tenants to sign a customer service?
Yes.
Or
For sure.
something, and it doesn't have to be listed on here?
No.
Because it's multiple, okay.
No. Let's not confuse ourselves with multiple. You're saying multiple, but you're saying customer service. It cannot be multiple if it's a customer service.
Oh, I see.
We don't use the multiple word if it's not if it's a customer service. When you have a buyer agency with your tenant or buyer, and the listing is ours, then it's a multiple representation, right? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's say the listing is ours or somebody else's, doesn't matter, and you don't have a buyer agency. Then it's not a multiple. It's a customer service you are providing. So that will be this, and then second one here. The listing is ours, whether this office, another office, but you don't have a DRA, so you are providing customer service. Multiple is not existing there. Okay?
So for these clients, it would be multiple, would I get them to sign
Buyer agents.
buyer?
That's it.
Cut the client.
Client, yeah.
Okay.
If you have a DRA with these people and the listing is, you said it's one office,
Yeah.
then it's a multiple. Unless you have a BRA, it's not multiple. It's a customer service. And it's not multiple that time, it's here. Okay? Yeah. So if you get confused, come downstairs and I tell you more. Okay? All right, let's go a little bit more. Agreement to cooperate. There is a form. Let's pay attention to this form because it's not a very old form. Not too many people know about it. It's a form that the real estate board and the ORIA created. Form number 651. Now, when do we use this form? Form number 651. It says agreement to cooperate to be used prior showing. When do we need it? Why do we have to use this form? Why do we need to get this form signed?
If you wanna just have an agreement with the customer for just that
No,
property.
this has nothing to do with the customer. This has nothing to do with this is
the
with
commission,
brokerage to
right?
brokerage. Nothing to do with buyer or seller, okay? Now, the reason we are using this form, if the property you're showing is not a board listing, let's say it's North of Berry, okay, it's another board listing, and Toronto Real Estate Board does not have any jurisdiction to claim your commission in case there is an issue, okay? Or the property listed exclusive, and then there is an issue with the commission because you didn't have a copy of the agreement, then there is an issue on closing. So it says before you show the property, you make sure that this is signed by the other broker, that they have the listing or they're supposedly having a listing or some kind of a paperwork, that they are agreeing that they will pay. This is in black and white. Once they sign it, the broker, then it's forcible in our system here. Even if it's Aurelia and there is a different board, then you can force the issue because they are signing. You follow me? Okay. The listing is not ours. It's out of town. Our board does not have any jurisdiction. Out of town from here, an hour and a half, 2 hours north, you're showing to a client something in the Bonneville. Okay, it's not listed with us. But someone told you have a client up Aurelia or north of Aurelia. He said, Amir, I saw a cottage over here. I saw a property here. I like to see it and buy it. And now you want to show that property, but there is no information. You call they send you some kind of a agreement, not agreement, MLS picture, but it's totally different form, different stuff. It's not 1 hour, okay? Or it's an exclusive listing in Toronto. I'm just saying it, like, you know, in Toronto, Remax has an exclusive listing, and one of your buddy told you that Gregory and Remax has an exclusive listing. I think your client will like it. Now, for me to be safe, before I show this property that I'm gonna get paid on closing, this form is created for them, okay? If the brokerage on the other side signed it and accepts it, then you show the property. Or else I wouldn't. It's a good form. Keep it in mind, okay? Because it happens. Open listing. I have a listing. I don't have a listing. It's an open listing. How are you gonna get paid? They are confirming that you should show and sell. So there is between the property owned by, all right? So listing brokerage, cooperating brokerage, and the owned by. There is not even a buyer's name, so you are safe. You're not giving your buyer. You follow
This has
me?
to be signed by the seller or?
By the
By the seller or
by the listing broker supposedly.
Oh,
Okay, but there is the owner's name, and then all the other information is here. Let me read it to you.
okay, but this should be in Ontario, yeah?
Pardon?
This is Ontario one.
Yes, Ontario. And then it's owned by. This will confirm our agreement that the listing brokerage will cooperate with the listing information and will pay. Okay, so the money is here, all right? And full cooperating fee. This agreement shall be subject to the following conditions, whatever conditions you have. You either put for 2 months, you put the time limit or something, and then the dollar value, this price, expiry date of the listing, and the expiry date of the agreement. And then underneath, there is a signature of the listing broker and signature of the cooperating broker. So this is forcible because it's signed document. Yes.
This is just for exclusive listing, as long as it's not on MLS.
MLS, exactly. Or out of town
Oh,
listing
no.
that we don't have a jurisdiction with our board. Okay?
So what is the latest point that we can get this one signed? So I mean.
Before you show it. Before showing.
So is it common or before offer?
No. Before offer is too late because you already showed the property. Now the buyer wants it, you know, then you have to send the offer. There could be a discrepancy with the commission because here it tells you how much you're gonna get paid before showing, okay? So you do that before. That's that. Let's go.
Sorry, what if the exclusive is in Toronto, you still get it signed?
Well, you don't have any proof. Do you have a listing copy?
Exactly.
Do you have any pricing? Do you have any commission? No. But this will prove their listing, whether they have it or not, and the money that you're going to be getting paid. Okay? Unless they are cooperating with you, giving you the listing agreement. That's a different story. Okay, register and disclosure of interest, acquisition of the property, and we have registering of disclosure of interest, disposition of the property. Now I'm going to come to those comments, Amir, that you were asking before, okay? Now let's go with this. First, anytime you yourself or one of your relatives related with arm length, you do like this. If you're touching this person, you're related. If they are too far, no. If it's a blood related to your wife, yourself, it's a relative. You cannot say, oh, it's my second cousin. There is a blood relation, or my wife's brother is a relative, right? So, or yourself. You must fill one of these. Okay? You must. It's under the law, real estate law. If you don't, and then if there is a complaint, there is a big penalty by RICO plus a lawsuit because you knew your intentions. Maybe you were going to renovate this property or demolish the property and build new one, and this was worth to you. That's why you didn't say that you are a real estate agent. But you must have this one signed when
When you're
Offer presentation.
when
Prior to.
this has to be the first page before 801. That's important. Okay, so this has to be the first page of the list. I mean, 801, second this one. I wouldn't say before 801, but as soon before the offer is reviewed, you have to introduce yourself that I am the buyer, or my brother is the buyer, or my cousin is the buyer.
I have put in the last page. Is there any problem with that?
It's not a good practice. Okay, so it's not. This has to be the first one. Okay, that's number one. Now, you were so busy, you somehow, the office was closed, You couldn't get into the files and stuff like that. You forgot this. There is the other option. We're gonna come to, you are on the buyer side. We're gonna come to confirmation of cooperation. Oops. Okay. Additional information by the buyer brokerage. So additional information, right? You asked me.
Yeah.
So then you can say, seller hereby acknowledges that, okay, the buyer is registered real estate salesperson with Realty Community, or the seller hereby acknowledges that the buyer is related to the listing agent, or the listing, the buyer is related to the buyer agent, or the buyer agent related to the buyer, okay? So then it has to be initial. You cannot put it in the offer. You can only either do it by disclosure, and the manager broker signs it, all right, that you're working here, or right in there. Now, if you are the listing side, you have the listing. You forgot to put that paper in your file, the disclosure. Then the next solution is, before you send the agreement to cooperate to the other people, confirmation agreement, then you put it here where it says, all right? See, it says over here, disclosure by the listing brokerage. It's right in there. So now you can say the buyer hereby acknowledges that the listing agent related to the seller, or the listing agent is the owner of the property. And you initial that if you are the owner, or if you are related, then you initial it, and the seller initials it, then you send it to the buyer and they initial it. Okay? That's the next solution. I mean, you said, when do we put it? There. Register and disclosure when you are buying it. And
Sorry, I have a question about the first
yes,
acquisition. From
yes,
buyer.
yes,
So there is a section there explain what's the relationship.
right.
Should we write exactly?
No, as long as it's related, unless it's you or one of you, your wife, then you put that. But if it's a relationship like your uncle or whatever, it's your choice. You don't have to elaborate.
It says if you are not the main person, you have to explain the relationship.
If you have a direct interest, or you will have a direct interest, yes. Otherwise, as long as you say that it's related, that is very clear. Don't worry about giving names that my aunt or my uncle or whatever. You don't have to go that far, okay?
So basically our immediate families that you're.
Yes, immediate family, cousins, uncle, sister, brother, brother-in-law, these are all related, right? So it's best for you to do it. Even if you're dealing privately, not real estate matter, let's say you saw a sign and you're going private. You are allowed to buy private. You are allowed to sell private. You have to disclose yourself that you are a registered real estate person, or you are buying someone that related to you.
But not friends.
Pardon?
Not friends.
No, friends are not, as long as it's related. So when you're selling your property, it's the same thing. I am one of the seller, or I am related to one of the seller. This has to be signed by the buyer before the offer is presented, okay? I come to agreement of purchase and sale because there are extra. How many agreement of purchase and sale do you know besides commercial? I don't want to know about the commercial because today is residential. Tell me how many? How many do we work with?
Three or four? Three.
3, 4,
For condominium,
okay.
freehold, mobile and mobile homes.
Mobile homes. So any more? Any more? No? Okay. We have the basic freehold agreement of purchase and sale. I mean, everybody uses that on a property that is detached, semi-detached, or lake. Okay, non-condominium. Obviously, we know how to do it. Today is not teaching about the agreement of purchase and sale. I just go over quickly, okay? And we sign. So as I was telling before, any part of this Schedule A, signature, first page, it is a package. They belong to each other. You should not separate the package in giving one something wrong in here, you initial it, and then you only send this page, and then first page, and nothing in between. I would not recommend it, yes.
So, quick question. These days, I see a clause related in agreement of purchase of sale.
Such as?
From the seller side,
Uh-huh.
for consent for publishing information of this transaction after, is it mandatory, that clause for?
No, not mandatory. Anything is not related to the buyer and seller at the same time. Nothing is mandatory. Therefore, RICO, when it came in effect 1994, before they used to write the commission in here, any discount on the commission, any marketing fee that the buyer will be responsible, the offer became like a Mickey Mouse deal. Everything was in there. They said, this is nothing to do with the buyer and seller. We are working here with the buyer and seller. They need a condition, they need the price, they need the closing date. What you do with your marketing fee, what you do with your sign, is there going to be sign fee? This became like a brand new deal that between seller and buyer, there was nothing to do. It was between agencies, commission stuff, HSTs. They took all that out. The thing that you're saying about advertising, it's only agreement. You don't like it to be there, take it out. The deal will not die because of that. Okay, and no agent should be forcing the seller or the buyer to consent for that advertising, or else I will not sell your property. There is no such thing. Okay. Yes.
So Form 160, so if you're the listing brokerage, can we add it in an MLS as a part of the attachments?
Such as what?
160, so it's part of the attachment. So there is a.
What is 160? Sorry.
Disclosure?
Disclosure? Yes. Yeah, you do. Actually, it's a very good idea that you do it. Then they know.
We are.
Yes, and then if they don't print it, then that's their problem because you are actually advertising. For sure, 100%, I agree, yes. So we go to Schedule A. Now we go to the condominium. This is another form because there is management, there is, Okay, let's go on. Schedule A. What is this? There is this animal here. Yeah. What is this? When do we use this and what does that mean?
Could it be when you're buying a property that's attached to a golf course or you're going to be using
No.
facilities?
Those are different stuff. Those are agreement between the property you're buying and the golf management and stuff. This is a form that it came out a few years ago. And actually, there are a lot of demand for this form because now you're going to see more properties coming on the market or being built that will require this form. And I tell you what properties they are. First of all, remember the number of the form. It's 111, and it was revised 2017, and it came to the effect, I think, 2015, 3 years ago. And many people don't even know this. This is an agreement of purchase and sale when you're selling a freehold property, either a townhouse or a detached or a link, where there is condominium fees attached. How can it be? When you are buying not a condominium property, you're not buying a condominium townhouse, yet there is a management, there is a maintenance fee, there is a corporation, and there is maintenance fee every month that you have to pay.
The new townhouses.
Why though? Why do we have to do
They
that?
have management.
Why?
It's not freehold.
Is this freehold, but there is an attachment. That's why this is the form that you use because it's not all freehold, it's not all condominium. It's in between something. But why is it like that? Why I don't pay? I have a detached home, I don't pay any maintenance fee. I am responsible. Why I have to buy one of this and pay maintenance fee? Do you know? No.
Services that's provided by.
Why these services are provided? Why not provided to me? Or why is not registered as a condominium?
Because it's a company who's providing all these
Management.
services.
Why though? Like there is a reason though. I'm trying to hear that.
It's a
There is no
builder,
such thing company
it's one
because
builder.
when the place is being developed, the developer applies for 120 condo townhouses. Then strictly the government looks at it. It goes to the hearing and then it passes. Then they give you instead of 150, they give you 120, let's say. And then you form a corporation, you build a condominium, and you put your bases, all your expenses, like building a tower next door to us. Or the developer applies for 75 detached homes, and that's it. But why do we have to use these? Because there is part this and part that. There is a specific reason. Do we know that? No. Huh? No. Let me tell you why. No. Let me tell you why. So we know, and when is that type of a property is on the market or you're listing it, somebody sending an offer, it has to be on this form. And don't be ashamed. Put it on the brokerage remark. Please use agreement of purchase and say POTL, because many agents don't know. You cannot use a simple offer, agreement of purchase and sale, freehold, that does not have a maintenance place. And you cannot use a condominium offer because it's not an all condominium. You have to use this. The clauses on this, on the second, third, fourth page, is totally different. It's not a condo, it's not a freehold. There are extra clauses in here that we have.
How can we determine this property is a condominium?
I will tell you right now. Now, the builder is applying for building a place, and the government is not approving it. It says you cannot build on this because farther that way, there is a water line underneath. You are not allowed to build this. You cannot build on that side. You are only allowed between here and there. So now the builder, they don't want to lose the lot. They bought already, or they are buying already. The roads, usually on a simple detached residential area, is 66 foot wide, or let's say 60 foot wide, okay? If the lot was supposed to be between the houses, or the frontage 30, 20 by 100, or let's say the minimum 80, 85, because that's the shortest lot we have in Canada. Now it becomes an issue because you don't have the lot coverage because of the water under that side and green on this side. They cannot build, they don't let you chop the trees. So now your lot is smaller. Obviously, the road is going to be smaller. When the road gets smaller to 30 to 40 feet, the municipality that they are building, or they are giving you permission, the services for snow plowing, services for the garbage, services for the street light is not assumed by the municipality. It becomes a private issue. Okay? Because all is squeezing the roads and the houses too close to each other. There is not enough passage from it. So in order for a snowplow to go, or a garbage truck to go and turn, you need this much, but this is this much. So they say it's your responsibility. You hire a private company, they do that for you, okay? That's the main reason. So what happens? It's a freehold. You own the land. It's not a condominium. And you own all the rights of that land. You can do anything, vegetable garden, or put a fence, normal, put a swimming pool if you have enough land. Condominium, you cannot put a swimming pool, even if you have a 150-foot lot, because it's corporation, right? So you can even put a swimming pool. You can put a jacuzzi, anything you want on that land, because you own it. You don't need permission from anybody that's corporation. You need the permission from the government. That's all. Municipality has to approve that you're putting a swimming pool or tennis court, whatever. But when it comes to freedom, no, you are not free. You have to pay maintenance because there is going to be a private company coming and putting in your snow. There is going to be private garbage pickup to bring it to here. For that, there is a condominium.
To whom?
Because there is a condominium fee, there is going to be a management company. And from the residents, there will be a board of directors. And then there will be a monthly fee adjusted to expenses. It's not going to be like a condo townhouse or a condo apartment, $500, $600, $700. It will be in the beginning, maybe $100, $150 fee. Okay?
Right now, I'm dealing with not property in Markham. It's a condo townhouse. So there is a corporation. The maintenance fees is small, 400 for 2,000.
Yeah, so that's a real condominium. This is not real condominium.
Because there is a corporation.
This will have a corporation too.
How can I understand that's not a real?
You see, that's what I'm saying. Most agents don't know the difference. They put on a freehold. On a freehold listing, I brought one to show it to you.
Have you seen any of those?
Pardon?
Have you seen any?
Too
Ever
many,
used?
too many, too many, but people don't use it because they don't know what to use. That's the reason I'm bringing it. Okay, this is the data form for freehold. You cannot put this on a condominium listing. You have to put this on a freehold because you're selling a freehold, not a condominium. You agree with it, right? Okay, now on the freehold listing, here on the first page, right under here, it says parcel of tight land, POTL. Parcel of tight land, POTL. This is on the free form, I'm showing it. And then you have to check mark here, mandatory. If you have one of this listing, you are taking it, you use a free form, but you check mark there. And please do a favor to yourself. Tell the free brokers free form, right, that please use agreement of purchase and say POTL, because they're gonna come with another form. They're gonna put clauses in the Schedule A that the buyer agrees there is a small maintenance fee. You don't need all that because this has everything. Because of light, because of garbage, because of this, why? There is a corporation number. They have to put that in the Schedule A. It's a mess. Plus, the lawyers don't like to see agreement of purchase and sale on a regular freehold instead of this. This has different coverage for buyers, different, and there is a status certificate for that.
Yeah, there is so, I didn't get it, how we can define this one is.
Well, if you are a listing agent and your seller says, we are paying $110 every month, that's one of this. You wouldn't pay any fee for a detached house, no, except your hot water tank or you're buying a furnace or something, right? So if he's paid, he pays his own heat,
Yes.
hydro, water, insurance, plus he pays $100. Why would he pay to somebody $100? Then you have to be right away alert. This is it, number one. If there is a listing, it says detached or link, but there is a small maintenance. Call the agent. You say, is this POTL? Is going to say, what even POTL? This is POTL because you have $100, $120. He doesn't know when he listed. That's how you know. They have to specify on the listing there is a small maintenance fee for snow plowing, for garbage, for electricity, because they are not responsible. Municipality doesn't come to clean.
But
So
I
when
assume
it
that we
comes-
can put this type of property in leasehold, in condominium listing as well.
You can, there is only this one allows you this, POTL. Condominium is a condominium from the ground up. This one is not a condominium, it's a freehold.
I'm talking about condo townhouse.
Yeah,
That's a difference. Condo townhouse is there, yes.
When you see such a property on MLS, how can you recognize it?
How do you recognize it? If there is a P or a detached house. You have a double car garage or single car garage owned,
No, when you go.
there is nothing
under-
that shows you. It says maintenance, that's it. If they tell you there is a small maintenance, you're a brand new or 1-year-old or 10-year-old detached home, why would it be a maintenance, be a corporation number? So you have to get right away going.
Okay, I'm just wondering, for example, when you go on an MLS, you can recognize detached as a D or.
Yeah, there is
whatever.
nothing that
There
shows
is
that.
no,
There is nothing shows that this POTL. There is nothing. Only when you're reading it. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Nice to see you. I just recognize you, right? Yeah.
I just finished this.
You're finished. Okay, by the way, this is something that I have to mention, guys, okay? Yeah. So far in the Realty Pages history, the youngest was, not history, I was one of the youngest one when I joined 44 years ago. I was 22. By now, the youngest one was around 20, 21. He's just 19 years old. He became an agent in Realty. So, hey, welcome. Yeah. He is our newest 19-year-old agent. Okay?
So, Gregory, sorry.
Yes.
So this is specifically is for freehold with,
With a small maintenance,
small
then you
maintenance.
use this.
okay.
Okay? That's how you recognize it. If it's a detached home, semi-detached home, or link home, you own the land, because if there is a land size, like lot size, it says 40 by 120. Why would you pay maintenance? It's your own land. In your townhouse, in Markham, there is no land lot size, because there is no lot that you own. So that's a townhouse, condominium. So you buy that with the condominium, and it's listed under the. This one is not a condominium. It's freehold. You own the land, but there is a maintenance. Don't worry, you're not losing anything. The only thing that maintenance will be there forever. Maybe $10 more every year, $5 more every year.
You can sidetrack a bit. Why would like people buy this? Because that is a municipal tax less or what?
There is municipal tax a little bit less because services are less,
Yeah.
okay? Number one. Number two, why people buy, first of all, anything with 80-foot lot in Canada? Why people buy condominiums? You can jump to Gardiner Expressway, Queen Elizabeth, why people buy it? I go down weekends to condo. When I'm going from Gardiner Expressway towards west, there are condos like I can say,
Beside
come
the
on,
bridge.
honey, jump, I'm going. I can take, my wife is there on the balcony.
York is.
I can say, come on, jump.
Don't try the.
Why would they buy it? Like, that noise, that poison. If some people were strong and they never bought those units, the next building you wouldn't be like. We are our own enemy. Because there is $10,000 cheaper than the other one, or 20 floor higher, that 10,000 gets the people going in there. All the builder says, I don't give this to anybody, but these 3 floors, we get an extra this, extra that, extra this, people buy. 80-foot lot in Canada, the largest country in the world, we built 80-foot deep. You go out, you shake hands with your neighbors. And if you are drunk, you go in the swimming pool. You don't even know you was there a day before. So, why would that? This is the same. Why would you? If some people didn't buy boycott, next one, the developer wouldn't build, or they will build a bigger house on a one-way street, let's say, instead of both sides, then sell it for more money because of the services, okay? So that's a good thing that you write and you know. Let me see what else I have for you. Conditions in an offer and buyer acknowledgement. Take this note too. This is a very good form. 127. We all get used to the idea putting, as our teachers and fathers and mothers told us, put everything in writing. That's yesterday we had a lawyer here. Anything in doubt, put it in writing. That's 100% right. Of course, when we are buying, we have to put conditions. Mortgage condition for 5 days, inspection, if it's a condominium, maintenance, the status certificate, if it's a complicated deal, lawyer's review. And then they say, don't worry about it. If there is multiple offer, or the buyer says, it's okay, take the condition out, I don't want it. You either don't put it, or you just scratch it. Okay, not putting it in is the worst. If the buyer tells you, I don't want any condition, I have 800,000, this house is 799, I don't need no mortgage. And my father-in-law, Italian, he came with me. He knows everything about the building. Italians are like that, they go. My father-in-law was Italian. Then I bought my first house, he was watching everywhere. And then I got a flooded basement. He said, I didn't know that this basement gets water. I said, yeah, in Canada, everything is possible. So if your father-in-law is coming and say, this is built good, the buyer said, I don't want any more conditions for that. Then you say, what the hell? Why do I need a condition? You don't put. That's the worst. You put 2 conditions, inspection and mortgage. And the buyer tells you, pardon?
If they don't want.
If they don't want, I'm going to tell you. The buyer will tell you, Gregory, I told you about why you put, I don't need it. You say, you know what, my secretary, they always do that. My office puts in every offer 2 conditions and the smoking money, the marijuana, that this was never used as a marijuana house. All these people grow up. We put this in every offer, there's the company law, rule. Then, you know what, don't worry about it. It's nothing to worry. It's actually better to the other side. Let's put the lines and be initial. That's the second best scenario. The worst one is not putting it. This one is putting it and taking it. Is this the best? No. If there is an issue with inspection, if there is an issue on the mortgage on closing, no matter what you say, the buyer is going to go to the lawyer and is going to say, well, this was there, he told me, she told me that with 600,000 in your bank, you don't need a mortgage. What do you need that? They will change their story. They are not going to tell you that I told her. How many people will be honest when there is the bank is telling you're not going to get the mortgage from me, and you're going to lose $50,000 deposit on closing, plus seller is going to sue you. How many buyers is going to say, this is my fault, let's shake hands, I signed the 50,000, that's it. No, the lawyer is going to say, your agent should have put this condition in for 5 days. Inspection, you move in, the basement gets flooded, or the roof starts caving in. How many buyers is going to say that it was my fault? They're going to say, we should have left it in, you never told me anything, that this house is 25-year-old, we could have a roof problem. At the end, it's coming back to you. Now go and defend yourself. Until you are proven not guilty, you are guilty. You go spend money, get a lawyer, RICO on one side, law is on the other side. Now it's your problem to get yourself out of the mess. They put you in the mess, and reality is with you. Okay? So the best solution is this. I would still put everything in, and then if you doesn't want it and there is multiple offer, I would use this form. The best form, you can have it in your briefcase to not have any headache. When you have this signed, nobody can come after you, I guarantee. If they do, the court will throw it out. Because, let me go a little bit more in details, because there is two sections to it. You either have it, you are waiving it, or you have it, they don't want it. They are saying that we don't want it. So we have the seller's name, we have the brokerage, we have the address, we have the buyer. This is part of the offer now, okay? And then it says, this is 128, I'm sorry. There are two of these. One is for the buyer, one is for the seller. Okay, there it is. It's saying, the buyer hereby acknowledges with respect to the conditions that the buyer will be waiving. That's the second one. I'm going to use the first one. Will not be including. Now, you don't put a check mark that you need initial. Okay? Will not be including condition in the buyer offer for the above described property. Now, the conditions are pertaining to, one, the financing of the above described property, initial. The sale of the buyer's property known as, if he has a property he wanted to sell first and to buy after, because the market now is slow, he can initial that. He doesn't want that, because that's another problem. He doesn't sell, he doesn't qualify. Arranging insurance for the building. Let's say you're selling a property around St. Clair and Eglinton area, 85, 90 years old, and it's all U-bend type wiring or aluminum wiring. Some insurance companies don't even look at it. You wanted condition, it says, no, I don't need it. If there are times the house doesn't get insured, the mortgage doesn't get advanced. So bad for a property like that. Obtaining a home inspection. Years ago, when I started real estate, 1974 until 1990, there was no such home inspection. There was nobody that would go and inspect home. It was you, your father-in-law, would look around, oh, it's good, that's it. There was nothing. There was no such license. Okay? This came in late 1990s or early 1990s. And everybody started getting licenses and knowledge about that. Okay? So there was nothing. But now it's a big issue. Okay? And then other could be a status certificate or a condominium. Other could be a lawyer's approval if there is an issue with the lawyer. So all that, you put that whatever it is, initials, and then underneath, everybody signs it, okay? Additional information, sign it.
Everybody, you mean only the buyer?
Only the buyer, and then you witness it. You get a copy of this. He moves in, the basement becomes a swimming pool, nothing to do with you. You had it in the offer, you had it in here, it's all done. That's the best paper you should use.
So with this form, we don't need to put the condition.
Yeah.
I would still put it and take it out and put it in here. I want everything not 50-50, 150%.
So what you're saying, you put the clauses
Yes.
there, you just
Yeah, I take
cross
it out and I
you
make this,
initial
because he's
it,
gonna tell you, initial it, and he's gonna tell you, why did you put it? I say, my company does that, but don't worry, we have a paper.
and then you fill this
That's
out.
it.
Okay, got you.
You become the hero there, and nobody can come after you. And then this one here, is 128. They created this year, last year for the seller, the same stuff. Okay, seller wants to sell a property, and he says, I want to buy first before I sell. Then you do one of this, because if he wants to buy one before he sells it, he may not be able to sell it. I have a very good friend of mine now. His son is listed with us. I don't go door knocking. I don't have the time going door knocking. I don't do it. I'm a manager. I don't go cold calling. But when there are sisters and brothers like that, I don't let anybody work because they are my family, right? So this is one case. They bought something, and it's been on the market over a month. We are not getting any offers. So that's a problem. You know what I did? Even in my relatives. Your best relative become your worst enemy. The paperwork has to be the same. I don't care if it's my sister, my brother, or anybody else. You need the paperwork. You want to keep your relationship open for a few years, doesn't matter buyer or seller, okay? You have to use with everybody this kind of paper. Because when the deal doesn't go right, you are always the first person to be blamed by the lawyers. I'm not gonna say by all lawyers. Why do you think the lawyers blame us? Why? They can get money, of course, they're gonna open a case, yeah, why?
Not to blame themselves.
Yesterday we had a lawyer. I used him myself. He is one of the most conservative lawyers that I know. He goes line by line, everything. If you are, he releases it. He checks everything. He's not one of those guys, don't worry. He checks everything, and you don't like him, you don't go to him. That's the way it is. He hates brand new houses, offers, condominium, you bring that. He says, you are one of those that you're gonna feel sorry, but you're buying it, I have to act for you. He doesn't like anything that is builder's prepared, okay? Because everything is one way on their side, but that's the way it works. You don't want it, then don't buy it. So 90% of the lawyers, I'm not gonna say all, they hate real estate agents. And I have a family member, he's a lawyer, I tell him on his face, okay? Why I tell you? You make a deal, if it's $1.5 million, 2.5% is about 40,000, 35,000. You send him the deal, he only charges 1,000. You make $34,000 more, and he has 2 universities. I don't know, I'm not talking everybody. Do we have any university? Do we have any college? Do we have any high school? The owner of Tim Horton, he was only graduated from grade 5, and he became an owner of Tim Horton. Sometimes education doesn't mean that you are a better salesperson, right? But he has all that, you don't have all that, you make 34. If you make 10 deals a year, you make 340,000. He has to make about 3,000 deals in order to come close to you. And in this company, I can tell you, we have not 1, 2, 3, 10. We have over maybe 25, 30, 40 people making 300 and more. 600, 700, $800,000. So a lawyer to make 800,000, he has to work 24 hours a day for not 365 days, maybe 750 days, and 24 hours a day. Okay, unless he's a criminal lawyer like Greenspan or one of those gasaros from California that they make a deal and then they make 200,000 on one deal or 300,000 on one case. Real estate lawyers, 1,000, 1,100, 1,200. You know how many deals they have to close? That's why they don't like us as much as others. That's one of the reasons.
We like.
Pardon?
As much as we like.
Well, I have nothing against the lawyer because you need somebody to close the deal, to check the title and everything. You need, at the end of the day, you need a lawyer. Seller customer service. This is the one that now, Alexandra, this is yours. Buyer and seller. This is coming now to that, okay? I have 5 more minutes. You're going to be late, but it's okay. Seller customer. You cannot get an exclusive or MLS listing. This is the other form, the best form next to MLS or exclusive listing. Don't show any place. Seller customer service, commission agreement for property not listed. You go.
Exclusive I was talking about, right?
Yes, but yours is a different case. This is seller, yours is the buyer. I'm gonna come to that. So you are driving and you see a for sale signed by owner, okay? Obviously, you think you have somebody to show that property. Before you enter the property with your client, my advice, exclusive listing. Well, MLS is always preferable. But they say we are not listing it, then you say, can you give me 1 week exclusive? I have somebody. If nothing happens, we shake hands and we are friends. Oh, I'm not signing nothing. Well, this is your next best. Don't go showing a property with nothing. Not this one, not exclusive, not MLS. Because the moment you show to your buyer, next day he goes there on his own, done, finished. Unless you have a buyer agency with your buyer. Okay? Customer service doesn't work, buyer agency. So that's the one. Everybody signs it, it's black and white, and it says right on top, this is not exclusive seller customer service agreement. What does that mean? We cannot force it by law that he is signing this with everybody, not only with you. Exclusive listing MLS only with us. This one with 20 other people.
So there is no date on that?
There is date, but it's not exclusive. He can sell with somebody else, not to your client, to somebody else.
Someone else.
Yeah.
So exclusive agreement, can it be done in a way of email or just in a way of implied agreement instead of writing an agreement?
You have to go there, especially when people are selling private, don't do anything by email unless they are out of town. You have no choice, but everything has to be one-to-one basis. Seller commission agreement, who's seen this and who wants to talk about it? This is Form 202 for property listed. Now, this is another animal we created today. We have the portal and we have this, right? Not too many people know about this. This is seller commission agreement with cooperating brokerage for a listed property. What is that?
Seller commission?
Yeah, let's see. What does that mean? Anybody has a clue?
The buyer has to pay the commission?
Why do we have to have this if the property is listed already? Are we allowed to go on a listed property and say,
Maybe it's not on the MLS? On the
no,
other
it's
board?
listed, MLS, you know it, that's why you're going there. Mr. Kachik, I haven't heard you today.
I haven't got a clue at all.
Nothing, yeah? By the way, this gentleman here, he was one of the big wheels in CIBC high management profile for years and years. I don't want to say how many years. He gets upset because you're giving my age away. So I'm not going to mention how many years, but he was one of the general manager at CIBC. I know him for about 40 years. So you can imagine after that, you know. And by the way, he can create, there are times he can create small miracles. He is not a Jesus. He cannot walk on the water, but he can create some miracles if you have a mortgage issue. He has some connections from old time. Come and see him. He is registered with us. He also does mortgages. He is not a mortgage broker day to day. He is not looking for business. I'm not advertising him. But if you have a difficult issue that he can be maybe put somewhere, come and see him. If it's something that he can help you, he can. Okay?
Plus, I'm the oldest in this program.
I never said that. I know this. No, listen, we don't go by age. He is youngest registered. I am oldest registered. Not by age. You've been a new agent. You've been with me for what, 3 years? 3 years. I've been 44 years. I don't think anybody beats me. He is the youngest. I am the oldest. So let's work on this one. This is important. The only time you need this when a property is listed under mere posting, $1 commission, 50 cents commission, 1 penny.
Facebook?
Not feasible. Listed on MLS by those companies that they take $699 listing to put on MLS and they don't do anything else.
Oh, and if they say, go and talk to the seller and.
Yes, that's the one. Now, there is some provisions for this. And it's not, those companies are not as popular as used to be 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay? They are coming slowly, they are closing or they are changing. There are still few. If you go and check some listings, it says 1 cent or $1 or 1 cent. So in a case like that, your client finds the listing because it's on MLS. Not that you want to show it to your client, this kind of listings, I would be away. But if you are a buyer agency, sign with your client, you know what you're promising? You will show him anything on the market that you think it's suitable for it. That's why he's signing with you. So this could be one, private could be second, a builder's house could be third. So you cannot hide information, but nobody likes this kind of things. You want a straight 2.5%, done. Okay, but if he finds the property, which most clients do these days, they say, Gregory, I found something, I want to see it. You go on the listing, he gives you the listing number, it's $101. I hate this. So this is the paper. Now what do we do with this?
So how do you work?
How do you work this? Okay, I'm going to tell you now. Make notes. Make notes. When you have one of this issue, don't show the client before you get this signed by the seller. Okay, it says usually on the listing that it's 2.5% payable by the seller to you, so you deal with it. Okay, the listing agent does not really care how you do it, how much you get paid. He put it on the market for $1. It's your baby, how you deal with the seller. I would not go with my clients to the property and show it, and people go crazy, and then you are negotiating your commission. Seller is going to be on a higher level. He is not going to give you 2 or 2.5. He says they like it anyway, you know. I would go directly right away, make an appointment. Okay, there is a number, seller's number. You can call him, you are allowed, okay? You say, I like to come and see the property. Don't say, I want to come and show you the paper. I want to come and see the property, so later on this evening or tomorrow, I want to show it to my client. So you go, if the property is in shape that your client will like, everything is okay, you tell him, so you are asking $699. Is that a firm price? Because you're not representing the seller, but you can ask some question. And then he said, well, if I get 680, I am happy, or 690 is my final. Okay, you say, as per your MLS listing, you're going to pay me. I work for Realty Page. I have a buyer. Now, before I bring my buyer, I am kind of obligated to make sure that we are on the same page. So I brought this paper with me that your brokerage is allowing, your listing agent, and I will sign this with you. I will give you a copy that at the end of the day, when I bring you an acceptable offer and the deal closes, you will pay me 2.5%. He will say, yeah, no problem, because that's what the agent told him. Or he will say, no, my commission is 2, I don't pay more than that, you get the rest from your buyer. So it's all arrangements and agreements, okay? So whatever you agreed on, you can put here 1 week expiry date. You put your commission, you put everybody's name, cooperating broker, seller, and then your buyer, okay, and the address of the property. It's like a listing or like customer service, but
we need to ID the seller, like.
No. I'm going to tell you that. You initial it, okay? This is not an exclusive again. It's only for that buyer that you are. Initial the seller's initial and brokerage's initial. Us. They are not. The other broker is not even in the picture. He may tell you. Pardon?
Why they're not in the picture?
They are not, because they only provide 699 service. They put on MLS, they get their money, they are out. They get 10 listings in a week. They make 6,099 in a year. How much it is, whatever, they are happy with that. So you have to do all this, and then you initial it here, and everybody gets a copy. Obviously, there is a second page, There is a second page, so everybody gets a copy. Acknowledgement is like you're doing everything, and then you have a instruction from the seller to show the property.
So, quick question, Greg.
Yes.
Is there any trust account in this type of transactions? When the buyer they pay the deposit, where the deposit will be going to?
You're very good question, but it's all coming now. I have another course for that. One day we'll do that, okay?
Also, may I ask you a question?
Yes.
What if you bring the buyer and you bring the offer, the offer doesn't go through, and you have another buyer? So every time you have to sign a new agreement with them, or?
Yes, because this is for that week. This is, if the buyer's name is there, this is only for that buyer. I would prefer that you sign if there is a buyer name, and for a following buyer, there is the buyer's name, you see? So when the buyer changes, you need a new one. Yes. Okay. Now, we are typing an offer to this property. Okay, let's listen 5 more minutes. We are preparing an offer for this property. There are some different issues with this type of property that we have to protect everybody. First of all, you are either representing your buyer as a client, you have a buyer agency, or customer, okay? He doesn't have to know that. This is between us, okay? I prefer that my buyer is always a client. Remember we said anytime you type a offer on a property, you need confirmation of cooperation and representation. This is one of them too. Now, confirmation of cooperation and representation is different than the others. Okay, there we go. Okay, the first page of the confirmation of cooperation, there is nothing because the listing agent is not representing the seller. You are not checking any marks in here. Remember on the other ones you put this, and then you check one of this. You don't.
This is, you're going for Form 202.
Yes, Form 202, yes. Because the listing brokerage that who put this on the market is not representing the seller, okay? So you are not marking nothing here, okay? It's blank. All right? Yeah. Now, underneath here, there is initial on the cooperating brokerage, there is initial on the seller, there is initial of the buyer, but nothing on the listing is blank because the listing brokerage is not there or you will not send it. Some listing brokerages say, after the whole deal is done, send me a copy of the offer just for their file, not because they can change anything or do anything, okay? Just for their file. So anything with listing brokerage is blank. These are done. There is blank. Second page, we have cooperating brokerage is RLP, royalty page with your name and number and everything, okay? And listing brokerage is their name, but there is no signature required, just for the information that is listed with XYZ real estate, all right? And here, where it says A or B, if you are under the buyer agency agreement with your buyer, it's A. If you are under the agreement with customer service, it's B. Either one or two, not both. Okay, whichever you have. Obviously, the third one is not an option. Remember, we was only the lawyers, so it's either A or B. And then here is B. You're going to check the B. And I'm going to tell you the wording that is qualified to write there. It says, the cooperating broker will be paid as follows. Remember, it's in your form. It says, cooperating brokerage will get paid by seller as per seller commission agreement for the listed property, period, in parentheses, form 202. That was the form we used. So I'm repeating it. Cooperating brokerage will get paid by the seller as per seller commission agreement for a listed property, period. Form 202 in brackets. Okay? And then there is another writing we're going to put to protect everybody, where it says additional comments, disclosures with the cooperating brokerage. I put there, seller agrees and acknowledges that seller is right there in the additional, yeah. Seller agrees and acknowledges that. There is a lot of offers like this. I'm not just telling you this is going to be forgotten. You're going to see something that your client is going to find with $1. You're dealing with one of them. You're dealing with one of them, yeah. So seller agrees and acknowledges that seller is, in capital words, not, N-O-T, in capital, not represented or being represented by the cooperating brokerage. Now, why do we do that? Because our responsibility is to our buyer. We didn't list the property. We have no exclusive listing. We have no, and don't sit down to the seller to help it. You are helping the buyer. Seller listed with a cheap company, $7.99, $8.99. If he asks you, am I doing good? Can you tell me what sold around? You say, that's not my job. I am representing the buyer. You should have asked that to your, listing broker. You can give him information, but not advice, because then you become a client level, okay? Deposit money.
Yeah.
Deposit money is payable to Realty Connected Community Realty, not to the seller, not to the seller's lawyer, not to the listing broker. They don't want.
Listing included in the offer.
Yes, it's there. $30,000 payable upon acceptance, Realty Connected Community Realty. Listing broker will not want that money anyway, because you're getting paid by the seller, remember? So seller is gonna pay you, all right? So don't put any other.
If he insists on getting the deposit himself.
No. He won't insist, then you don't have to give it. You never give money to sellers, except when they are.
Or the lawyer, because this guy is saying.
The lawyer is acceptable, provided your buyer's lawyer agree. I don't want to suggest that you should just give it to the, because he's not in the picture. Brokerage should hold the deposit. But if your buyer is okay with it and his lawyer is okay with it, I would make a phone call and confirm it with them. Don't decide it on your own. Okay. All right. So that, having said that, if you have no other question, then I would wish you good luck and good selling.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you so much, Greg. It was-